Hey guys, Tony here. I just got back from the Hi-Fi show down in Melbourne. You can see I've got some cool merch from StereoNet. I'd like to thank Mark for bringing me down for the show. It was an amazing experience. And while I was there, I was fortunate enough to get to spend some time with Tom Garrett from Trinnov. Anyone that has seen my previous videos will know I've been talking about owning a Trinnov processor from pretty much day one of my channel. So you can imagine it was a real treat for me to be able to get to talk to and interview one of the most knowledgeable and senior people that work at Trinnov. Tom is the international sales manager. He's very technical and passionate about what he does, and it was awesome to get to see him at work. I first met Tom a couple of weeks ago at my good friend Mick from Sydney Hi-Fi in Mona Vale at the launch of their new Experience Centre at Warriewood with my other good friend Michael from Crix, and the two of them were calibrating Mick's MX40 and Trinnov combo, and I was able to get involved by running some of the demos for the night. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's cut over to the interview where I asked Tom some of the most burning questions that I have about Trinnov and the industry as a whole. Make sure you like and share the video, and let's get into it.
Well, it's quite simple. Trinnov is the world's only software-based AV processor. We do everything in Linux, so in that way we don't rely on pre-coded, hard-coded digital signal processing chips. So we can continuously update our platform. We can offer additional features. We've done that repeatedly over the years. The last one to be announced was Plus4, which we're using here today at the Hi-Fi show in Melbourne. And on top of that, we are the only licensee who directly communicate with the likes of Dolby, DTS, and Auro 3D. So where there's other manufacturers, not going to mention names naturally, they have to go off to the likes of Texas Instruments, Cirrus Logic, get their DSP chips, which have the Dolby Atmos Auro decoders in it, which are then incorporated into third-party boards, which they then incorporate into their platform thereafter. Typically, that's 3 stages down. We at Trinnov, we get access to the SDK, software development kit, directly. We basically get their code, we bring it in straight away, obviously bug fix it, integrate it, add the features that are required, send it off for certification. So that's why we can add features to our platform, typically in less time than anybody else, but also you don't have to upgrade your process every time. It's a simple software update. Ooh, that's a tough one. I've been playing with Trinnov's now processors since the very early days of Altitude 32. For me, it's probably going to be a classic, Event Horizon. It's a really old film. I've owned it since the days of Laserdisc, so AC3. And even now, it's my go-to film when I'm playing it at home or when I'm watching it with a client who wants a certain style of sound, which is really immersive, massive space effects. So typically in that case, I get the native DTS track, upmix it using Neural X. So that means it's going to play around as many up to 30 channels around the room. And even though it's an old film, the jump effects on the cuts are just beautifully sharp. It's a clean, crisp audio soundtrack. For me, that's one of my favorite demo soundtracks. But, and here's the big one, sadly, it's a little bit gory in places, so I can't use it in all situations. To be very honest, we would love to be able to offer something in a lower price point. The biggest challenge at the moment is the marketplace. If you think about where the availability of chipsets are globally, it's really difficult to get chips at the moment, full stop. So sadly, it really is a case of lowering the cost would bring unknown challenges to the business. So at the moment, we feel it's not necessary given the current marketplace and sourcing challenges that are out there. It's probably a natural partnership. I met Crix 5 years ago, and we were already partners in the commercial space. So that's commercial cinema space, where the Crix loudspeakers were being partnered with the Trinnov Ovation processor. It shares the same DNA as the Altitude in terms of back office calibration. So I was introduced to their speakers at the factory. It's the same pair of speakers which you've seen, big tall ones at the end of the big warehouse. And when I just heard them, there was something magical about it. And it was almost like hearing music again for the first time. And sadly, it was a Dire Straits song, which I heard on them for the first time, and that's slightly cringeworthy. But what makes them is just they're engineered beautifully well. They're just good engineers. They pay attention to detail. They don't throw excessive fluff into the product speak. It's just well engineered, good sounding, and ultimately it's a really nice speaker to work with. So we're happy to have multiple partners as Trinnov. We share distributors in the UK, we share them in the Netherlands, in Australia, actually, as you just mentioned, and in Spain, and in Greece as well. So we've got quite a few partners where we tie up already, and it's just a nice relationship. If there's one killer feature, I wouldn't put it down to just one element, because I think that's probably unfair in that sense. For me, it's longevity. I've used at home Altitude number 11 since 2015. So that unit has been around me for 7 years. And to this date, the only components that's been changed on it is the HDMI board and a load of software updates to keep it up to date. That unit's gone back to France and is now one of our demo fleet. But there's been no changes made to it. So the fact you can have a 7-year-old unit, which is still top of the range and still current, no other manufacturer can deliver that. And we've made that a long-term affordability even more valid by offering the warranty extension. So units which have gone out of warranty, customers can send the unit back for either a remanufacturer effectively, which gives it all the latest tricks, all the latest hardware. We do change our hardware in rolling production. It's physically impossible to do it otherwise. So from that perspective, that's what it gives you, this hardware update. And with the Altitude 16 coming up now to 5 years old, we're looking to offer some form of update to that so that users can enjoy another trouble-free 5 years of additional warranty. You show me any electronics out there with a 10-year warranty, and that's a pretty class-leading product for me. Our focus at Trinnov is actually slightly different to that as well. We have 3 clearly defined divisions of Trinnov. We have the Pro, which is recording studios, post-production, mixing. That's got a lot of traction in the marketplace, and even more recently due to Apple adopting Atmos Music. So people want to author their music and then replay it. So the more channels you have, the more difficult it is to create that sound. So there's a product called the MC Processor and Demon, which we offer. Those have become increasingly popular in the commercial market for monitoring Atmos music. If you look at the other side, which is commercial cinema, it's not a major focus, but it is a focus in its own right, because we recognize that there are smaller boutique theaters, so commercial cinemas, that want better sound that is commercially available from other manufacturers out there. The one thing which those 2 products already have in common is Optimizer, which is our bespoke back office room and speaker interface calibration software. And then obviously we've got the Altitude platform and our Hi-Fi platform, which dovetails in the middle of these 2 markets. And they're all treated equally within the business in terms of priority. And yes, there's a lot of cross-fertilization between them. It's not uncommon to see the Altitude 32 platform in high-end grading suites or post-production, mainly because of the AES digital inputs on it, where you can stream 16 channels. So we see a lot of hybridization going across our market. So to say that there's one market which is key, I would say it's probably slightly unfair. All markets are treated equally, and they have specific focus on their products to make them for that market. Well, I've got 2 Trinnovs at home. One of them is my Hi-Fi system. So that is ironically quite strange. It's a valve hybrid system. So I've got a pair of Crix Esoterics Ultims, which are a little stand mount. And I've got a transport going into a preamp, which is valve. Transport, DAC, valve preamp, That then goes into what's called a magnitude, which is the Trinnov multi-way room correction active crossover product. That then splits it 3 ways, the incoming signal. So I have some EL34 valve running my HF units on the Crix. Then I've got on my mid bass, I've got some Class A amplifiers, and then I've got 2 6 kilowatt Class D 50-unit subs running the bass. And obviously that's now an active 3-way hi-fi system. And so that uses 3 different amplifier technologies, and that's my hi-fi. My cinema currently is in boxes because I've just moved house, but it was previously a 34-channel Trinnov running some very big subs, but I'm now in the process of rebuilding my cinema. Hopefully by the time I get back to the UK in a week, the foundations will have been sorted, and all being good, I'll be getting it ready for Easter next year. I think consumers are now beginning to understand and realise the value of higher channel count systems. The days of a simple 7.1.4, which was considered to be luxury, 5 years ago, we're now seeing the shift to 16 channels and above. So it's clear already that higher channel count residential solutions are becoming more apparent. Space is still a premium. There's going to be some international standards coming out in terms of how you design cinema. CEDIA, which is the industry body, have got some white papers coming out, and they are recommended practice 22 and 23. And these will now detail constraints on design for certain grades. And it's all about the relationship between seat to seat, consistency of both volume or sound pressure level. It means frequency response across seating. It means noise floor, which is how much noise is leaking into the room externally, RT, reverberation time, and that's just recommended practice 22. So we'll see this ultimately rolling into a standard. That standard, as the last bit, will cover how many speakers do you need to achieve a consistent sound field. So as that becomes more standardized, we'll actually see the quality of installation increasing, because no longer do you stick your finger in the air and guess how many speakers you need. There'll be an international standard saying tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and to achieve each one will be increasingly more difficult. So yeah, I think it's going to be a drive towards higher channel count solutions. It could only benefit our industry because people will get better sound. That will then probably tip the video at home content. So let's see where that goes.
So guys, what did you think of the interview? Let me know down in the comments section, as well as if you have any questions, I'll be sure to try to answer them. I'll have links down in the description to where you can find out more about Trinnov and some of the distributors. I had a blast down at the Hi-Fi show in Melbourne, and I'm hoping to do a wrap-up video later in this week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and tick the bell so you'll be notified when that video drops. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, make sure you smash the like button for me. But anyway guys, that's it for this one. You'll catch me in the next one. Bye for now.